It'll be fine,
What is
Ashley.
up, guys? Welcome back to the Huddle, your weekly playbook helping you gain forward progress in your career. Simply put, we're here to help you guys win. To all our new viewers, welcome to the team. And the staples of the podcast here, Daniel and Jose Gonzalez from Grand Rapids, Michigan. What's up, fellas? How you
What
guys
up?
doing?
More like thumb putty, right? Not staples, just thumb putty.
You guys are always here, so that is a staple. So today's sponsor is Divergent Adhesives. We'll play a video here in the middle, but I would be remiss prior to discussing today's topic to not mention a good friend of the podcast and a good friend of the industry, Dan Churchill, and his wife Denise. Many of you have probably heard if you know Dan, but Dan passed away, and after a battle in the hospital for a while. I don't have a lot of details, but I know that it's been hard on Denise and just your thoughts and prayers with them. But more importantly, is clicking that QR code that's on your screen to help Denise to deal with this tragedy that she's having to deal with, as we all have probably lost someone we love. It's pretty tough. A lot of us have stories about Dan. A lot of people knew him a lot more time than I did. I personally known Dan for several years, probably 4 years, and he was always always a really good guy to me, and always. Last time I seen him was at convention, and we were talking right after my speech about AI. He sent me to a website and got me watching Post Human, and so uh, he's he's going to be missed. I know a lot of people I've seen on Facebook in particular doing a shout out to Dan. So uh, I'm a bit lost for words. I just seen him a week before he got sick, so it's kind of a tough thing when you got friends like that that go down and they're long distance friends. But anyway, I wanted to mention that, and please support Denise and click the QR code on the screen here and um, buy a raffle and help them and God bless D
Yeah,
and D. So
yeah. I mean, that's why I got the hat on today, showing the support. Right, Dan was a great guy, and we can only imagine what Denise is going through right now. And I mean, it's not just what just happened, but she's been going through her own issues, and then to have this happen on top of that, it's just horrible timing. And Dan was a great guy. I was just talking to Ashlyn right before we started this, and was like, "Yeah, that dude would just call me and talk for a couple hours and just complain about industry stuff that I mean we all complain about, but it's like you're not in the position to really make those changes, but you got to vent to somebody."
Yeah, he never held anything back when it came to the passion and what he wanted to do for the industry. Um, Always said hi, always took a picture, always said bye. You know, come on.
yeah, well, and everybody, probably has a Dan story, but mine's just super recent. That post-human thing, he was really into AI and what it could do to our society. And so I got there, and then I was leaving the conference center later that day, and I was just going to walk to my hotel. It was, quarter mile or whatever. Picks me up, gives me a ride. Saw me walking down the street, you know, and I think from my experience with Dan, that's what he was. A good guy that really, you know, had his opinions and you would know them, and that's the type of people I like anyway. And then on top of that, um, help out. He's willing to do that thing. So my thoughts and prayers are with you, Denise. I I know this is tough on you, and we'll be thinking about you and literally praying for you and your family. And I hope everybody will take advantage of buying the raffles and supporting Dan and his family in his absence. So,
Yeah.
rest in peace, my man. Nice moment of silence for Dan there. All right. Well, we're going to continue with the podcast here. Today's topic is balancing speed and precision on high volume installations. Um, Sometimes you'll really know who picked these topics, and this is some commercial guys picking these topics on this one. Um, you know, you guys know as well as I do that a lot of the pressure that comes from these the larger installs is unreasonable scheduling expectations. And so I wanted to start there. One of the biggest things that I think can help is discussing with your project manager or your general contractor or your owner, whoever you're dealing with as your point of contact, and discussing with them how the durations are going to work, like straight up. That's the time to have the conversation with them, is when you are starting out. Manage those expectations. If it's going to take you 14 days to do a portion of the job, you got to be very clear about that and get your durations set. So
And some of that might be like in the beginning conversations too, just kind of, I don't want to say overstepping, but making sure that you are putting a halt sign up, like, hey, that does sound really good, but listen, we're not factoring some variables. We're going to have to extend this, and if you didn't think about it, let's chat about this a little bit, and maybe they can, hopefully it helps uh, them change the direction and helps them understand what they might have been missing. And I mean, it seems to be lately every commercial job is like that. It's go, 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 and everybody wants it done yesterday. And the length of the chain of command nowadays, and like a lot of the projects that we're on, from owner to installer, is there's a process, right? And just
yeah, the
because,
larger jobs have even
yeah,
more people involved, so it adds complexity to the project, where you got
yeah, I think,
probably a couple of project engineers, and then a
yeah,
superintendent, and an assistant superintendent, and probably a quality control person. And all those people are trying to get something done on the job, and you're the one point that has to get it done for them. So
yeah, there's a lot
managing
of moving parts.
expectations, the like, if you get your schedule, ask for one of the things we try to do here, um, really, that's really important, is asking for the project schedule when you get the contract. And that helps us to understand. It also helps us to use it to mark out. I mean, there's times I've literally had two huge bathrooms that they gave me 2 days to do. Like, we were going to install 1,800 foot of tile and grout it and be done in 2 days. We're going to lay 1,800 feet of tile in one day and grout it the next or something. I was like, that's a 10-day process. You might get away with 8 if we get spunky, but we, if you need 2 crews, we can do it in 4 days, 3 days to install and a day to grout each bathroom with 2 crews. But that's for a 2 to 3 man crew. You're going to get, about 2 to 300 square foot a day, and that's it.
Well,
So
sometimes, depending on the space, the crew doesn't even matter, right? You can't bring another crew in. It's just, it is what it is. I was on a project and I was looking at, this pharmacy, and they're like, gotta bring more people in here to get it done quicker. And I'm like, you guys, like, You just don't understand. All this is flash code, right? It takes a flat lay. Yeah, we'll be able to get this done in 1 2 days. But once you mix flash code in there, it's a completely different beast. So, and it doesn't matter how many more extra guys you bring in. And this is where we talk about all the time, right? Is the the labor shortage. It's not necessarily a labor shortage, it's the qualified labor. And if you don't have those qualified people, you're just putting bodies there for no reason.
Yeah.
Well, and you can have qualified people, but just when you start to do, there's a few things that we always try to point out. Like if you're doing a big room and they want more people to lay more LVT, um, I'm not bringing in a separate crew, another crew to work with another crew. There's just the way they put things together, just it matches from a like it's just a way you push and tug on something that kind of you know
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
I do.
VCT in
Man, I say that all the
particular,
time.
how you square up VCT and how you correct your VCT as you're installing. Um, Crews do that differently, and you can't just toss a bunch more people on it. But in my scenario, I had two big bathrooms. I can put one crew in one bathroom, one crew in another. That's fine, but to have it half as much as two crews could do in a day, like not even half, like or twice as much as a crew as two crews can get done in a day. So that's just a long-winded way of like setting your durations and expectations to your customer ahead of time when they're building a schedule or right after they're building a schedule is the best time. Wait until you're on the job and they gave you 3 days to do it, and then you say that's impossible. They're like, well, why didn't you say something earlier?
Right. I
So
mean, there's been bids that I've done where they came back and it was like, hey, the only differentiator is this company is saying that they can get it done on the schedule that we have. Can you do that? And I'm like, no, that is literally impossible. They were like, all right, well, we're gonna give it to them. I was like, do what you have to do, but I'm letting you know that is impossible. And then
You do you,
guess
boo
what?
boo.
Guess what happens? 2 months later, when the project is going, we get phone calls. Hey, can you guys come help out with this project? And it's like, nah, man, you kind of buried yourself on that one.
Nobody likes
yeah,
saying I
the
told you, but sometimes you gotta shrug your shoulders and say, told you.
yeah, and at the end of the day, man, like you're trying to do a quality job, and if you don't get out in front of it like early on, then you are not doing yourself any favors. Because if you don't give yourself the duration at least, I'll even break it down to man days for them. Like to do that tile is going to be, 22 man days or 24 man days. Well, that's a crew of you can start chopping it up and get close if you want, but it still equals out to 8 9 days. So that's the first thing I would say is setting your expectation on you know how much you're going to get done, because it is balancing the speed and the quality or precision as we put it, and trying to give yourself enough time, because you can still do it fast, but some of them are just absolutely unattainable, just like you said, Daniel. Like, no, I can't do it that fast. That's impossible to even doing it close to right and doing it that fast.
Well, not
So
only that is some of the schedules, like you had mentioned about doubling up on crews, right? Or they ask you to work around the clock. Around the clock does not factor in dry times. A lot of what we do, we're waiting for things to dry, and it's just like, you guys, it needs a set for whatever, however many hours, whatever product you're using, and they're like, no, we need a crew here for second or third shift. Okay, what are they gonna do? Like,
yeah, it depends on if it's if you're pouring
Self
self
leveler.
level or something and you need 6 12 hours for it to cure before you can sit on it
right, or gypcrete, which is
or put
even
anything
worse.
on it, well then you're just standing there. We've done two shifts when it can work. But and that's actually a good way to get around. I find second shift gets, considerably more done by man hour than first shift, not having to fight everybody. And if you got a deal set with your GC that like make sure this is cleaned out, or my guys are going to turn around and walk home. Like they're going to turn around, walk right back out the door. If they show up at 8 o'clock tonight and this room's packed full of stuff, they're not going to move it. So make sure it's cleaned out and ready for them. And
You can
it's
start right
funny
there in
that
that corner.
they do a little bit better with that, at least in my experience, than the next day. There's plenty of times I've been on a job and I'm like, hey, we're gonna be here tomorrow. This has to be moved out. And we get there, and this is where our industry kind of taints us a bit, and we're kind of stuck. Is the we get there and they're like, well, we wanted to make sure you were going to be here before we took the time to move everything. Okay, we're here, move everything. But at
Right.
night they tend to do it. So that's another technique to get those extra hours if you can, work a second shift or something. If you are a company and you have the crews to be able to do that and they can work next to the other crew, then great. What's another way you guys go about managing that balance between getting a job done and those high volume projects where you're expected to get
Well,
500-600 yards of carpet tile down a
actually,
day kind of
actually,
thing?
I'm not going to use a high volume project, right? But I'm going to use a high volume schedule. How about that, right? Like where you have many smaller jobs that are kind of piggybacking one another, but they also have start dates and deadlines. Um, I went and helped the guys out yesterday and this morning with a pattern match job because I know how important it is to get the staging and the dry lines and getting the pattern and getting all that cut and laid and right and measuring elongation. Like I went and did all that to help them out so they could focus on the demo, the prep. And once I got all that done, when I started gluing it, it went down pretty quick. Once you have all the right system is being used, it went down really quick. And I I thought it was going to be a struggle to get it done by the end of the day today, so we were good for tomorrow. But no, they were cleaning up, ready to rock, and leave the job site at 3:30. So hey, what do you want us to do with all this extra material? I was like, a little
Leave it.
smile, like, yeah. Hey, why don't you ask them?
Leave it for the owner.
What do you want? Do they have somewhere to store it? What do they want to do with it?
Yeah, I
But
gotta I gotta tell you, like, we had a job up in our out of our Kansas City office. It was kind of just like this. It was a big project, a bunch of broadloom that is pattern matched, and they gave us a ridiculous time frame. Wanted more guys. I'm like, more guys doesn't solve it. It's not like they can jump out in front and start
right,
doing anything. I mean, like, this has to be worked across this whole room, and each pattern has to line up, and but you need to give us this amount of days. And it was owner supplied carpet. We
oh,
did
of
the
course,
job, got it done. They got two extra huge rolls, and they're like, okay, you got to move that up to the third floor. And we were like, um, my son called me on it, and I was like, no, our handling of the owner's materials is complete upon our completion. We're done. Does he want me to come to his house and move his furniture too?
right.
Like, what are we doing moving stuff around that we are no longer dealing with? But that was a side note.
No, I like that side though, right? Well,
But
that's a learning moment for everyone too. Is stand your ground, make sure that's very
yeah,
clear.
we unloaded the materials and handled them and moved them around during our installation. But once we're done with the install and we turn it over to the building, we're not movers. We're not just gonna. And if we'd have ordered the materials, we wouldn't have had, bunch of stuff left over. So yeah, it's at this point when we're doing one other thing I'll throw out there is when you got to have a lead on your job. Just try not to change out your lead guy too much. We found that on these bigger projects, getting to know each facet of them really pays off to have a working foreman on site. So whoever your lead is working as well, but they're also going to the job meetings. You know, a lot of these bigger jobs have meetings every single morning, safety meeting or a production meeting or a pool meeting or, something. And then you got weekly foreman meetings and all this stuff. So having a foreman on site, we don't do a lot in flooring, um, because we use subs so much. And what we do is typically we'll have one of our hourly guys on the job and run as a working foreman, uh, or on, for example, one job, all he did was hang base, but it covered his wage, and he was able to have enough time in between each, area to be able to go to the job meetings and do the scheduling
There
and
you go.
all that stuff. We have a job right now where the guy, he's installing in his capacity and then running the project itself as well.
I think Daniel and baby sister are on a project right now too, where they're both heavily involved in the meetings. She's the one there that's on the project every day, and he's the one trying to coordinate what's needed, what's missing, and what hasn't been going right, what has been going right. I mean, it's one of those jobs projects I would say where came in to help, and holy smokes, there's a lot of moving parts there, a lot of
Yeah.
learning, a lot of lessons on that one.
Yeah, that and he's okay about it, right? He's like, make sure you're keeping track of the meeting times and all this, and it's just like it is one of those huge projects though where this is, I mean, it's a mental health facility. It's got a couple floors, multiple different wings. I think he has like 9 or 10 different flooring crews on it. And it's still like with that many crews on it, different companies, it's still going to be to the wire on getting it done based on their schedule.
Yeah, that upfront schedule is key to making sure that you get enough time to do your job.
Yeah, and
I,
then um,
how do you control quality? I was going to throw that at you guys. How do you control quality on a job like that? I'm getting ready to do a psych hospital myself. Um, so how do you control quality on a job like that that's got, and when we're talking different wings, I'm assuming it's probably somewhat similar. These things are designed similar, across the nation, but we're talking 20, 30-minute walk from one end to the
yeah,
other. 15 minutes maybe. By the time you get from one end of the, like at the, this building's built like a hand on these like wings, and there's hallways. Each finger represents a hallway. If you're all the way down at this end and you got one way over here, it's a it's it's a lot of time to the next. So how do you control quality on those types of projects?
Lots of walking.
well, I think it's about consolidating
Lots of
the areas,
walking.
right? You don't intentionally schedule yourself in two different wings that are opposite sides of a large building like that. You try to create a flow and progression, and I think that starts at the top. Is I don't think I don't think that they would intentionally do that to you, right? Like we have to have these two wings done at the same time, simultaneously, same deadline. I don't think they would intentionally do that, but typically it's if it's a multi-level thing or project, then you're starting on the third floor, working your way down, right? And then you move to another wing. You start on the third floor, work your way down, unless something goes wrong. Um,
You would think
Well,
that
that
it's like
brings up a
that.
really big tendency that, general contractors have, and that if you don't fight against it, you can get locked into. And that is this: oh, hey, I need you over here to go do this thing. And I want you over here to go do this thing. Oh, we got the MRI machine way over here that we need you to do. And like, you end up running all over the building. You can't keep your tools consolidated. You can't keep
yeah,
things, like I've said it 100 times on this podcast that I was not fast because I could spread glue faster than anybody, although I was pretty fast at that. Um, it was because of the way I set the job up,
Mm-hmm.
you know, as an installer, going and having a systematic way to approaching a project so that I wasn't going in the morning patching saw joints and waiting for them to dry. What I'm doing tomorrow has been patched the day before, 2 days before. I don't care if I only had to clean, if all I had was that much space to clean out the saw joint space to be able to get a enough for my trowel and patch to get in the saw joint. I'm
And
gonna fill those
get the
suckers,
first deep fill done, right? It's about
get them cleaned out, filled.
strategic timing and one touch policy. You only want to touch it one time. You got to go back and go back and go back. Oh man, I had to touch
Yeah,
that
and that's
wall.
that quality assurance, catching it early when someone's still in the area. You're not going back and doing a punch list kind of thing. Um, Helps. And of course, we understand. Like we've got jobs where you get something done and then they're tearing your base off the wall and cutting a hole in the wall because they got to get to something, and then you're going back and doing a repair, and it's like, geez, Luis. But those things aside, being on top of your quality as you go, keeping the expectation level high for your crew. If you're a crew lead and you're out there installing, keep the expectation level high of everybody. And then if you're a manager or a foreman on your job, making sure to stay out ahead of that is a key deal. Make sure the right adhesives are being used in the right area. And speaking of right adhesives, it's a good time to play today's sponsor video from Divergent Adhesives.
Does Divergent have a video? I think we just shout them out and talk about it.
Well, if they don't, they should. We should get them a video. No, Divergent Adhesives. When you need the best, the toughest, the most reliable adhesive on the market, you want to buy from someone who knows their stuff. And I can't tell you enough about Sonny. He knows his stuff, and he knows how to how it is from an installer's perspective to deal with these adhesives and the mitigation systems. They've got a one part single application mitigation system that's awesome. So make sure to go check out Divergent Adhesives and show them some love. Buy some of their adhesives because they are awesome. And when you need a tough quality adhesive, Divergent's your adhesive brand to go to.
Yes, sir. I just talked to him last week when I was on the phone with the manufacturer, and I'm like looking at a project, and I'm like, hey, is there any way that we can do something else with this adhesive so that way it cures faster? And they were like, hold on, let me get you the information. And they said his name. I said, I'll just give him a call after this.
You
Yep.
know
Planning ahead.
the guy in the bucket. You know the guy in the bucket.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good to have a direct contact, but if you don't, I know that they've got good support as well. So yeah, check out Divergent. Rollins says working on any job, planning ahead is always key for a smooth job. I I think that's what we've said this as we've gotten started here, and I agree 100%. Planning ahead is not just it's about making sure you can accomplish the goal, evaluate the schedule, know what you're expected to do, and then
Mm-hmm.
set the right expectations. And then when he's talking about planning, it's like setting up and making sure that you're out ahead of yourself on the things that you're going to have to wait on. Um, we've had jobs where the glue takes forever, and we just decide we're going to, like a pressure sensitive to dry. We just decide, we're going to have to work a longer day today because this glue's not drying. Now I'm not going to stand here with my my hands in my pockets. I'm going to go ahead and just keep gluing a couple more rooms, and then go when until the first room's dry. And and we've done that, and you get a heck of a lot done, when you got to do it that way. But it's just trying to maximize that you're always moving. That's what, by the mechanics, as they called them back when I first started, helpers and mechanics, But my lead installer, my mentors always taught me you something should be happening. You should not be patching and watching your patch dry, or gluing and watching your glue dry,
Right.
or there should be something else. Now sometimes we have to, but it's as simple as keep in motion. If you got vinyl base to do, like a simple example would be, instead of going in and doing the vinyl base in a classroom, for example, or 10 classrooms, and you got 20 of them to do, go in and glue up 3 or 4 of them, and while the glue's drying, go put your base on the ones
Right.
that are done. Like, keeping in motion is
Yes.
one of the best ways, and keeping that productivity going forward is one of the ways that you can get these big jobs done in a pretty efficient time frame. You know,
And some
a
some of
lot.
that some of what you're saying too is on leadership too, right? Like if you're the lead on a project, and you know you're going to get to a point where there's 3 people watching you, make sure that in the back of your head you have something for them to do, right? Like if we get to a point, and I know that, and I'm just going to use the project I was just on. I gotta cut these seams and get them sealed up, right? I got to get these seams prepped instead of letting people watch me because they're not down there cutting it. They're not asking the right questions. Hey, do you guys got the tools organized? You guys wipe down the wood base? I know we got it a little bit dusty. There's some things that are, what tools are we not using anymore? Are we done with the prep tools? Go ahead and put those away. Start getting stuff off the project that we no longer need. And it was just as simple as, look up and you see someone watching. You're like, you're not doing anything right now? Nope, waiting on you. Oh no, you're not waiting on me. You have this to go do.
Never waiting on anyone.
Yeah.
There's always something to
Um,
do. I mean,
so
and that's why we're so relatable to sports, right? Because all of our daughters are finally in travel softball. And so we're back at square one. And that's what I find myself, telling them. It's like you're moving every single play. There's never a time where the ball gets hit or there's a pitch where you're not looking for something to do, right? Everyone has a job, whether it's to back someone up or you're the one going to get the ball.
yeah,
Everyone has a job. And when you're looking at large scale projects like that, it's really easy for just your workstation to be super messy. Go clean that up, organize the tools, redo this, clean up this area. And people don't really think about that until you're there pointing it out to them. But I've been on, some jobs where I go and help them out, and everyone's all doing something. So guess what I'm doing? All right, I'm going to reorganize this room right here, get everything in order so that way they don't have to worry about it.
Hmm. Yeah, and the analogy that comes to mind, I don't even know where I got this, but it was brewing coffee. And the concept is, you don't put your coffee on to brew and stand there and watch it drip until it's done. You put the coffee on to brew and you go do something else. You're actually doing 2 things at once that way. You may go jump in and take your shower, and then, but something's happening while that coffee's brewing. So that's like getting patch on the floor where it has to be put in a day or so, not the moment you need to get in that room, because the coffee's brewing. It's going. That thing is doing its cure time and doing everything it needs to do to be properly sanded and prepped for LVT or carpet tile or whatever you're doing. So, getting that coffee brewing, thinking like that, what can I get out and get going? I can spread that LVT for that little break room over there. While that's drying, I'll go over here and do layout for the carpet tile, make sure that these guys can go and spreading their adhesive for that. And then
yeah,
I'll go back over there and lay. When I'm done there, I'm going to come back and pull this guy off and have him start basing behind us, and have these other two continue on, because the patch should be, 100%, whatever. Like, you're always trying to keep the productivity moving. And the more you can think about that, and like Rollins said, planning ahead for your job, that's a daily thing. That's not on these
yes,
big jobs. It's a daily thing. So thinking about the next day at the end of the day is a little hack in life, really. I mean, I do my to-do list the night before for the next day, so I try to have some confluence into my days, and I'm doing things productively, and I don't get caught up in all the fires, although I do get caught up in fires, you know, still, but I try to plan around to not be that way as much as possible. And so at the end of your day, getting together with the superintendent before you leave a big job and saying, hey, just so you know, this is kind of what we're thinking. Or sometimes we're working with either behind electricians or in front of painters, or behind painters and in front of like those two trades we're constantly dealing with. A lot of times I'll tell my foreman, just get with those two guys, where are they going next, and make sure that you got space to move up. Be nice to the electrician. He might even pick up his wire shavings and his wire nuts at the end of the thing, and not leave you a mess to clean up. But it's true, right? Like, trying to keep the job moving is about trying to keep tomorrow
Yeah.
ready today.
And being
So
transparent is huge. And sometimes sitting in those progress meetings and being absolutely transparent on and setting a level of expectations with the other trades. Like, hey, you guys, listen, this is what you guys are doing here. You can't be spray painting and marking the floor anymore. I got to grind all that off. You're costing me time. Electricians. I love the power and I love that you guys got the lights on, man. But can you guys carry another extra bucket with you for all your clippings and your knockouts? Like you just said, um, plumbers. You guys are cutting all this pipe right now, and your oil is like getting into the
that's a
concrete. I got
fire sprinkler guys always
yeah,
getting
oh
their
yeah, there you
oil
go.
on our
The
floor.
sprinkler guys. There's just some of it is because they don't know rather than they don't care. All right, but if you part of the solution and not the problem and help educate and just bring it up, it's just a quick little change on their behalf to help you become a little bit more efficient as well, because now you don't have to spend extra time uh, correcting items that other trades might not know of. But once they do know, they make it part of their routine as well, and then
Yeah,
you
that
create that
brings up a
synergy working with the same companies, and over and over you create a great team atmosphere. The synergy is great. You understand each other. You know what to expect. If they say they're going to have something ready for you, they're
I
not just
know
saying it anymore.
that's what I miss is going to the jobs and then the guys that you've been working for years. As soon as you get there, they look at you and they're like, "Hey, we got to get all this stuff away from here right now
Yeah,
because
they don't
guys
play
are about to
around.
come in.
They don't play around.
Yeah,
like
it
even in
brings
the
up two.
meetings on that job, right? They're because we've known each other for so long, and I'm like, can you guys can just go do this?" And he was like, "Daniel, I'm not even worried about you guys, man. Like I already know I can communicate with you. It's just certain people, and it happens as long as we're not those people."
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I try to tell my guys. A lot of times, one of the things that happen to the best of us, dude, is they're saying you got to be done on this day, and you're looking around, and you're like, "There's no freaking way they're gonna finish this thing. There's no way they're gonna finish it." And you start to let off the pedal because, like, that you just don't think there's any way, and you're probably right, that they're gonna get the rest of the job done. But I always tell my guys, like, we're not going to be the ones. Let's make sure we're not the ones. We're not going to be participating in them not finishing. We're going to finish our work, and we're going to get done as best as we can in all of our power to get done on time. But
Right.
because it's easy to look around and then kind of let off the gas. But it's amazing what'll happen when other companies start getting letters and delay letters or something,
yeah.
and they all of a sudden
Ooh,
have some extra guys to put the ceiling tile in or whatever the problem is. So
And
I always tell, I just don't want my guys getting sidetracked with it. Can we finish? Yeah. Okay, then we're going to.
yeah. It is
and that's
communication.
that's what happened because you were talking earlier about projects, and it's just like the flow of things. And one of the projects we're on is like things keep on happening where it's like, all right, well, and it wasn't anything that we did, but it's like this has to get redone. And I want you over here to keep pushing forward, but I also want you over here redoing these things. And it's like, which
Yeah.
one is more important, guys? Because
Yeah, and that's where you gotta communicate and be like, I can do this, but I need 2 days added to my duration, you know, or whatever the time frame you need. That's happening on a current project we're doing right now where it's just like the hole in the wall was a real thing, and it was a pocket door or something had to be redone. They had to cut a hole in the wall and take off our base and do all this stuff. Um, and it was flash cove, so it's not like just taking vinyl base off the wall and putting new vinyl
yeah,
base on. And so, but they want, as soon as they got their door fixed, they wanted it buttoned back up and cleaned back up and finished. Well, okay, but that's rework, and this is the problem we all get into. That's rework, and I'm at capacity to get done in time with who I have. How am I supposed to do that? You know,
right.
and a lot of times, if you have a good GC, they'll work with you and be like, "Hey, can you do it on the weekend?" And I pay all overtime and all this and all that, and we've worked deals out like that. But just communication from a first principles perspective, I'd say communication about what you can get done and your durations, that communication and the communication to your team about your expectations and quality expectations, and then stay in motion, baby. Get the coffee brewing somewhere and get going on something else while that coffee's brewing.
Get the coffee brewing somewhere.
or you could be like me, ADHD, and you start that coffee, you start it brewing, and then you put too many things in while on your list. Like, while that's brewing, let me just do 4 hours of work real quick and forget about my coffee. Yeah,
And then he puts it in the microwave and then forgets it in the microwave.
yeah. I
Maybe
wanted
that's
to,
not the best analogy.
Well, it's different, right? Because we have a Keurig, so you can
yeah,
do that. But when you're
Yeah.
brewing a big pot, it's different, right? It's
yeah,
always ready, basically.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, the other thing, what's another deal? So like setting the job up expectation wise, setting it up flow wise.
Hmm.
What's another big thing that needs to be on everyone's mind when they're doing a larger, you know again, the topic is balance and speed and precision. That could be speed and quality on high volume installation. That doesn't always mean it's a big job. It could be that job that we did a bunch of, used to do a lot of McDonald's mod C remodels, start to finish, dude, 13 days period, like, and we had 10 of them, and that was it. So our tile, if we were doing the demo, we had 13. If we were not, we had 10 days to go in and lay, let's call it right around 6,000 feet of tile. Done, grouted, complete. So what was really important for me was making sure I had the right crew that had the DNA that could move quickly. You have those crews that they're good, they're just not going to be the fastest guys. And you got those guys that are fast and good, and then you got a mix of both of those.
No, I would say communication, like as in like even if like a 13-day job, even a 5-day job, a 2-day job, even because you have things that are coming after that is, and we're on our guys right now about it, is communication, like updates. If you are behind, I need to know that you're behind. There's a lot of other parts. There's some things that we have to do to make sure we have to prep the client. Or, are we behind because of material? Or are we correcting material? Are we missing material? Like, just, that doesn't always have to be behind for the cause of us being behind, but I'm just throwing out other examples.
Well,
It's
I
just
mean,
me.
it's an absolute part of it though,
Yeah,
being behind is like that's
and
because of materials or something. I mean, those things happen. I mean, I'm not perfect. I ain't gonna tell you that I've
yeah,
never been short on material on a job I estimated. It's happened. And when it does
same.
happen, you got that you cause yourself some scramble
And
mode.
right, and day of the week too, right? Like if something happens on a Friday, and you know at 9 o'clock in the morning, but you don't tell me until 4:30 p.m. on Friday,
Hmm.
I just lost the solution, right? Because this it could have been worked on a little bit Friday, but maybe a solution could have been presented first thing Monday morning instead of us talking about a solution Monday morning. It's just items like that, and it's hard to stress the importance of that type of communication when people are just trying to go in there and get it done. And and hey, you know what, oh, I forgot to tell you, we're behind schedule because we didn't get this room until 2 p.m. on Friday because let's just say the electricians were in there and they needed to get out of our way. Okay, well, we've been there since Monday. When did they tell you that they were going to be in there on Friday and they were behind? Oh, they told us on Wednesday. Okay.
Hey, guys, I hate to cut myself out short right now, but I gotta go because I'm supposed to be at the school in 5 minutes because I volunteered to cook at the marching band competition today.
All right. Well, have fun at that.
Oh, that's
We're getting
today,
ready to
dude.
wrap her up anyway. Appreciate you being on
Yeah,
as
just log
usual
Yeah,
off.
there,
and
Peace out,
Mr.
dude.
Daniel.
all right, see you guys later.
See you, brother. Yeah, so all the I mean, communication and knowing your job is the two of the things that like will help you the most, I think, from a first
Yeah,
principles kind of project understanding and communicating with both your client and your crew.
that's absolutely huge. This, we do full service and labor only, right, for other flooring companies as well. And this is one of the projects where the information that I give is way more thorough and detailed than the information that the person that we're doing their project gives to the client, right? So there were some things that weren't passed along, which right away put us in a different spot on day one than I thought we were going to be. Hence the reason why I was there helping with the layout and trying to alleviate some of the stresses of that deadline. I just, we were half day behind on day one.
Hmm. Yeah, the last thing I'll say is document. Um, whether you're doing someone's house, you're doing a commercial project, you're working with a custom home builder, whatever your gig is. Again, communicate, but communicate in your delays that you are caused. We This is a work in progress. Even with my team, we've been in business for 25 plus years, um, and we I still we still struggle to get this perfect or get it right even. But when you are delayed for 2 or 3 days because of the XYZ, whoever that is,
Mm-hmm.
you have to send in an email and let them know, hey, I was delayed. I was supposed to start on the 13th. I didn't get started till the 16th because of this, and that. My durations cannot start till the 16th. And just communicate that kind of thing. Otherwise, you're going to be you're going to be dealing with some phone calls.
Right.
And this is what I really try to drill into my guys is like, you're going to deal with it now or later. Later, it's going to be an upset client because you're not done with what you were supposed to be done with, but you never told them you weren't going to be done by then. So you
Right.
have to communicate when things fall apart, when guys get sick and you're not going to quite get there, or you got held up by, the painters or the electricians or drywallers, whatever the scenario, and that when you're held up, when you can't quite get done, then you got to be able to communicate that. So,
Yeah, 100%. And you just said something a moment ago about writing it down. Um, when you're on the commercial or residential, start writing down some of the things that might hinder your progress, because then you could kind of incorporate some of that literature into your contract, or maybe a questionnaire for your client if you're doing residential, to kind of leave out the guesswork and make sure that they understand what they are responsible for and what you are, so they can have their ducks in a row as well. Um,
Yeah, most of the time they'll appreciate you for this kind of thing.
hmm
Um, some clients, they just don't want to hear nothing, but that's, you know, is what it is.
yeah,
But a lot of them will appreciate your kind of being upfront with them, you know, and letting them know where you're at. So,
nobody likes to be in scramble mode, man.
yeah. All right. Well, that is bringing us to the end of the podcast today. I want to thank everybody who did join us. It was a little bit down today on our viewership. I would encourage everybody who watches this on YouTube, join us live. It's really great when you guys make comments and give us some different perspectives to consider. So we would love for you to join us live on the podcast here every
Yeah,
Tuesday at 3 p.m. Central, 4 p.m. Eastern, and give us your feedback. Let us know what you guys are thinking on your side about our topics and how they apply to your life. Want to again thank the Divergent Adhesive folks, Sunny, and that whole team, and for sponsoring this podcast, but also for just making great products. So thank you
yeah.
very much. And again, Dan will be deeply missed, as you can see running across the bottom of our screen. We hope that Denise is dealing with this with loved ones and surrounded by a lot of love right now. That's not hyperbole. We really hope that everything is as best as they can be under the circumstances for Denise. So
Yeah.
our prayers are with you for sure, hon, and we will continue to support in every way we can. Again, get involved and help them out. We certainly appreciate everybody, and we will catch you guys next week.
Thank you, everyone.